Thank you so much, and welcome to our Valentine's Day Sounds of Chocolate party at the HeART Gallery. This is the Bowling Green State University Guitar Trio, and by name, Michael Brown and Adam Schroeder, and Miles Anderson. All students at BG, although Michael is also a Perrysburg High School student, so he's also taking music classes at BG. So they'll be playing selections for us. And we all have our tasting boxes. Sorry, guys. They don't have tasting boxes. So now it's time. You want to find your tasting box. And it's been shuffled, I'm sure, in transportation. So open it up and get ready. You should have 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, 3 and 4, 5As. Just line them up in order, but don't start tasting yet. So after we get everything in order, we're actually going to start tasting from the darkest chocolate all the way down to the whitest chocolate. We have all the noise in the background is our in-house tasters. So we go with their speed. So if they start eating ahead and I start yelling, you know why. All right, we all have our boxes open. Now for the very first tasting, you have 1A and 1B. And this is the only time that we're going to ask you to close your eyes. You're going to take 1A out, take a look at it. You can break it in half if you want to, if it seems like it's too big, or smell it, take a look at it. But Michael and I are going to play a piece of music on violin and piano. And while you have your eyes closed, you just see what kind of taste comes to mind. And we're thinking in terms of bitter all the way to sweet. And when we're done playing, you can take your handy dandy score sheet and you're going to mark somewhere on that line. Does it taste extremely bitter to you or extremely sweet? So we're only looking at 1A right now. And those of you in-house that don't have pens, there's some right there in that suitcase. John is going to go get those for you. All right, so you have your 1A, a little sample, and Michael and I will play. You just close your eyes and enjoy that taste for a moment. Okay, all relaxed now. Open your eyes and mark on your chart. Did that seem extremely bitter or sweet? Where on the continuum did that feel? I feel like a game show host. They're all writing here. You're writing at home, I hope, because we're going to compare answers at the end. So now you're going to take 1B and we're going to do the same thing. You're going to close your eyes. Michael and I will play some music. You're just going to let the flavor of that chocolate melt on your tongue and see what you think in terms of bitter and sweet. Okay, eyes open, and time to mark on your score sheet. Now we'll see how this worked out. We started this way based on research by a gentleman at Oxford University. I don't know how he was paid to do this, but being paid to sample chocolate to music, I think would be an awesome job. Maybe you guys should look into that. And his research, what you just tasted were two pieces of chocolate that were identical. They were the same pieces of chocolate. And they were from Lily's, which is a fair trade chocolate, and it's 55%. So it's not a real dark chocolate, but you know, some people don't like the super dark chocolates. So we're asking in-house here and see if it compares to you at home. How many of you had the music that was the 1A, which was the calmer music? Did you mark that sweeter? No, one did.
A little deeper flavor, more than sweeter.
Oh, he called it deeper rather than, so then yeah. Did you mark them all the same? What did you mark, Pastor?
No, the second one was, it wasn't sweet, but it was less bitter.
I would agree.
That's what I thought, yeah. So
we must contact Oxford immediately. Okay, so we'll see what happens with you at home, or you can text Pastor Pete with your answers, or you can text my phone. It's right by Tim. In theory, the second piece should have been more bitter, and the first piece should have been sweeter, and that was not the case in our in-house test group. Let's move on.
But it's interesting that it tasted different.
It did. Pastor raises a good point. It did taste different, even though it was the same piece of chocolate. So I guess we can attribute that part of the research we did successfully. Yeah, but somehow, even though it was the same piece of chocolate. So in your dessert tray, you have a little chocolate cookie with a raspberry on top, and that was made with a cocoa powder at the same ratio of 55%. And so while the Adam is going to play a piece for us, you can nibble or sample on that dessert. And you might not want to eat all of these desserts at one time, but at least you want to try it. It should match your flavor with the chocolate that you just tasted, and so that there's a bit of a raspberry in there to help lighten up with the fruit. And Adam's going to play for a piece for us called Sueno. Okay. You're getting the idea how this will go. We do a little tasting, then we eat a little dessert. We have room temperature water here to kind of cleanse our palate. You might want to get that at home. And we also have a little bit of wine. You might want to get some of that too, if you're so inclined. It's Valentine's Day. So we're going to look at 2 now, tasting number 2. So you should have 2A and a 2B. And with this, we are going to talk about, well, I don't want to show it to you yet. We're going to talk about fair trade chocolate. One of your samplings is a fair trade chocolate and one is not. Now, Pastor is already trying to read the words on the chocolate. Don't do that. You'll guess ahead of time. So, taste the first piece of chocolate. We're not going to, Michael and I aren't going to give you music background for this. You can just let it melt on your tongue for a little bit. And this time, you're going to compare the two between waxy and smooth. So I'll have to take a taste of the first one, let it sit there for a little bit. And then try the second one and see if it tastes more waxy to you or more smooth to you. Aren't you curious? So fair trade chocolates, one of these two is a fair trade chocolate. A lot of people are familiar with Georgette's in Maumee and Churchill's. A lot of places sell fair trade chocolates now. So fair trade chocolate means that you're buying a chocolate that has been put into an agricultural group where there's some protection for the farmers. It's not a perfect system, but it is designed to help be consistent with the economy and sustainable agriculture practices. It has some problems, but it's that's why it's more expensive than other kinds of chocolate bars. So, let's see if our group in-house has a consensus. One of these was a fair trade chocolate called Divine Chocolate. And I believe it's Ecuador. And the other tasting was a Hershey's chocolate bar. Okay, I see a lot of heads. How many of you marked 2A as the fair trade chocolate? It was smoother. Almost everybody, all but two. And 2B was the Hershey chocolate. Did that taste waxier? Okay, so there are some additives to the waxier chocolate, less cocoa bean and more with the $1.99, $6.99. So how much better did this taste? But you're supporting, more sustainable agriculture with the fair trade. Okay, so in your dessert box, you have a little triple layer lovely little decadent dessert that has a dark chocolate on the bottom, it has a milk chocolate in the middle, and a white chocolate on top. And this was all fair trade chocolate, not as strong as you might think it would be. The flavors are rather mild. And so while you're tasting that, the guitar trio is going to play Rondo and Tripla. This is by Telem Susado, and he was from Germany in the 1500s. He was a calligrapher as well as a musician, and he founded what we now call the first music publishing house, where he had movable templates for notes. I told you guys didn't know that. So he wrote a lot of dance music, 1500s. He wrote a lot of chanting chansons for younger singers and many, many instrumental ensembles. For the 1500s, probably to please the king and then also entertain those with the church. So, go ahead. know if you can tell at home, but at least with that song, the voicing was bass, kind of alto, soprano. It changes with different songs, but that one, especially with the 1500s, that was a little bit easier to tell. Okay, we're moving on to number 3. This time you only have one guess. So you're going to kind of sample this chocolate. Over time, chocolate has been infused with many, many things. Most commonly, nuts, coconut, marshmallow, peanut butter, things like that. But in the last 15 or 20 years, it's been very trendy to add things like bacon and brandy and Kahlua and lime, pineapple, other different flavors. Just about everything pairs with chocolate. One of our favorite parties that we attended at my brother's house, they had chocolate-covered potato chips. It was just like people couldn't get enough of them. So you are to taste this little piece of chocolate, number 3, and see if you can guess what's been added. It is from Venezuela. I don't know if that helps. Okay, we have 1 coffee, 2 coffees, 3 coffees.
Coffee and red wine.
Coffee with red wine. John's getting closer.
Raspberry?
Okay, John says grape and raisin, and my husband says raspberry.
It tastes like raisins too.
Okay, you're doing very well. It's cherry.
Oh, okay.
Very subtle. So this is also a fair trade chocolate it's called Grace Chocolates, and this is a popular brand. Yes.
What's the connection between cherries and Venezuela?
Yeah,
I don't. Well, I just.
Venezuela's where coffee comes from.
Well, that's it. Okay. So I don't. You probably couldn't hear this on TV. John's question was, "What is the connection between Venezuela and cherries?" None. Other than this is a bean to bar chocolate. So that is a kind of a new trend that the same person that grows the beans then produces and flavors the beans and makes them right on site into a bar. So you're not sending them out to another middleman. And this bean to bar process really took hold in Venezuela. No, so cherry was not a good clue. But it is a cool thing in terms of production of chocolate making.
Hey, what's the name of their brand again?
This is called Grace,
Oh, great.
and Whole Foods carries it, Trader Joe, and Georgette's in Maumee. And about $7.99, because cherries are expensive in Venezuela. Okay, now your dessert pairing, if you're still game to keep eating desserts. So now as you get further across the dessert tray, these are things that you can keep and eat later in the week. You know, they won't disintegrate on you, so that might be a good idea if you're reaching your max. But this is a pairing with a fruit, which is apricot. So there's an apricot ball that has apricots and figs and pecans dipped in a fair trade darker chocolate, and then there's a apricot shortbread with a white chocolate frosting. And Michael is going to play a guitar solo for us, 2 gavottes by J.S. Bach. And a little known fact, the gavotte is a French dance, started from the southern area of France in the town of Gaveau, which is very similar to gavotte. It was a male-female dance that involved kissing. And then over a period of time when that fell out of grace, the kissing was replaced by giving flowers to your dance partner. So since it's Valentine's Day, and it's, you know, flowers and chocolate and all of that, it's a good time to hear 2 gavottes by Michael. one of you guys on the spot to explain why you don't use a pick? Or what you use instead of a pick? Anybody want to talk?
Sure.
Okay.
We
Don't
don't
talk loud with your mask on.
use a pick because we use our fingers and fingernails to get different tones and colors out of the guitar. And plus, we don't have any pick guards or anything that can be applied to a classical guitar. So using a pick isn't really possible because you tear up a lot of the wood. And plus, since we do a lot more chord melodies and playing with multiple strings, you can't really use a pick as you have to skip certain strings occasionally. I have to play a chord on maybe the top 3 strings and the 6th string. I couldn't really do that like in any way with a pick and strumming. So that's why we use finger style with fingernails, and plus you can get more tone and color out of your guitar with your fingers.
That was a great answer. Very good. So I hope you can see that on the camera, how they're just flying up and down with their fingers on the fret. It's beautiful. Okay. Are we ready for number 4? Now this one also, you have an element to identify. So if you take your number 4 sample, you might be able to tell by smelling it. And see if you can tell me what's been added to it. I hope at home you have very concerned faces, because that's what I'm seeing here. Eyebrows are furrowed. I'm just seeing a lot of very intensity here. No guesses yet from the home stretch crew. All right, John's giving us a guess.
Like a malted milk or something?
He's amazing. He's got the best palate in the house. He's right again. The addition is malt. So malted milk chocolate, this is a horrific story, was developed as a food supplement by a pharmacist in Britain for babies to sweeten milk, give them more protein and nourishment. It didn't go over very well in Europe. So he moved to Wisconsin, where his brothers had a dairy farm, and it was a huge hit. Of course, the United States would go into it because it was sugar. So it became very popular in the 50s, and that became, when you added malt to ice cream, that was the rise of malted shakes and what we now call malt shops or soda shops. Have you guys ever heard of those? Oh, yeah, I've heard of them. They should make a comeback. They really should. So malt is an additive, but it's not very popular additive. It is the malted milk balls. That's what I'm trying to say. The malted milk balls brand and label has remained the same for the Wisconsin brothers in the early 50s, still the present day. They've not changed a thing about it. The same logo, the same colors, the same packaging. So in your little desserts, you have a Rice Krispie bar that has been laced, as if you were an infant, with malted milk. And on top are chopped malted milk balls. Now, I want to talk about the company that made this particular chocolate. And this is a little bit like the bean to bar group. There are chocolate crafters developing all around the country, just like craft beer makers. There are craft chocolate makers. And this is a group out of Asheville, North Carolina, and they're called the French Broad, B-R-O-A-D. And they have a really interesting website. They send chocolates all over the place. They do their own chocolate tastings. The one that I really wanted wasn't even available, I suppose, with Valentine's Day. Things were sold out rather quickly. But it's this beautiful, like, cardboard box. Comes all wrapped like it's a major gift. I'm not even going to tell you how much this was. But it's a craft chocolate, so you're going to pay more. And but kind of a new wave of things that are happening. So while you're munching on your Rice Krispie treat, Miles is going to play a solo for us, and you'll recognize it right away. It is Autumn Leaves. Did you have to improvise a lot of that, or is it scripted out?
Yeah, it's basically improvised.
Okay, so improvising meaning he's making it up from the chords and adding the melody in every now and then. That's nice. Okay, we've made it through the milk chocolate. Now we're on to number 5. This one I think will be fun. The chocolate chip test. So I have the ranking from 3 different food sites on what they have rated as the best chocolate chip. And so on your rating sheet, I want you to taste 5A, and then mark if you think if it feels like it might be expensive or inexpensive. So you have a 5A and a 5B. Now, have you ever noticed when you buy chocolate chips, sometimes they look whitish, and you wonder if they're any good or not? That white is called the bloom, and it's not a bad thing. It means there's been friction during transportation that they've rubbed together. It may mean they were stored in a warehouse that reached 110 degrees, and then they were put on a truck that was 54 degrees. So temperature changes could cause a bloom. It takes a lot to ruin chocolate that's been processed. It keeps for quite a lengthy time. So I guess what I'm saying is don't worry about the bloom. You don't have to throw it out. You can still eat it.
It tastes like it's expensive.
Which one? 5A. We have 1 vote saying that 5A tastes expensive. 2 votes that 5A is expensive. 3?
Inexpensive.
Inexpensive.
I agree.
Okay, we have 2 inexpensive. Oh, 4 inexpensive and 1 expensive. Okay. Now, have you tasted the other one to compare it yet? Okay, so you've tasted them both. And everyone is saying that 5A was the least expensive at this point. Have another glass of wine, Pastor. That'll help your taste buds. 5A was Costco chocolate chips. 5B was Ghirardelli. So 5B was the more expensive. In both Cook's magazine and My Recipe, and there was a third, they rated the Target brand of chocolate chips higher than the Ghirardelli. I just didn't have time to run to Target and get chocolate chips for you to taste. And I had Costco ones, which we'll never use again. But this was like $3.95 a bag at Target, and this was, depending on the sales, $6.99 or so for the Ghirardelli at Kroger. So I guess we did that one correctly. The more expensive did taste better. So accompanying this is a cookie that has the Ghirardelli chocolate chips in it. And it includes some other interesting ingredients. We're calling this a breakfast cookie. It has dried cherries. It has the chocolate chunks. It has a combination of whole wheat and white flour. It has sugar, brown sugar. But the crunchy ingredient that you'll taste is puffed quinoa. And so you take the quinoa, you basically cook it, not cook it with water, but you rinse it and dry it. That's what I mean by cook it. And then you put it in a pan like you're popping popcorn with coconut oil. And you get it to a high temperature and it pops like popcorn, but it doesn't get very big. But you hear it pop and it changes color from kind of a yellowish to a darker hazelnut brown. And then that's been folded into this cookie. This has now become a personal favorite at the Philabaum house. You would have each had 3 samples, but we ate too many of them in the tasting process. But it's billed as a breakfast bar because it has a few healthy ingredients in it. And you've noticed a lot of chocolate in breakfast bars and the prepackaged food, I'm sure. So while we're enjoying a little bite of cookie, I'm a little worried that that cookie might be dry. It shouldn't have been put in the refrigerator along with the other food. Is it dry? No, it's okay. All right, thumbs up, okay. We have an interesting guitar piece now. Della Dolce Mi Enigma by Gabriel. Now I had to look up this title. It's a Spanish title and it means, "Oh my sweet enemy." And I thought that was rather intriguing. This is part of a poem that came from the Don Quixote books. So Don Quixote, remember, was the knight that just wouldn't give up his relentless pursuit of heroism and finding true love. And so the words of this is an actual poem, and it has been written in choral scores. But they're going to do a guitar translation of this. I also discovered that Don Quixote, that book, the Bible has been translated in more languages than any other book. And Don Quixote is number 2. That seems surprising to me. That is very interesting. So here is The Love of My Enemy by Gabriel. Was from the 1500s. I don't know if you could tell there was a lot of change between major and minor. Maybe that was the love and the enemy. Who knows? Okay, we're down to our last tasting. There are several people watching at home who ordered tasting boxes for their children. And so we now apologize if they're jumping off the walls. But it's Valentine's Day and you can hold some back for later in the week. So our very last tasting is white chocolate. Not a particular fan. Some people really like white chocolate. There are often a lot of things added to white chocolate. So on this one, I want to see, you're going to taste 2 different samples of white chocolate chips. And on your score sheet, I have GMO additives versus organic. One of those samples has a lot of things in it that have a lot of syllables, so we really don't want to eat it. And the other one is very organic. A big difference in price also. So let's see if you can tell if 6A is the more organic, or if 6B is more organic.
B is organic.
Okay.
That's what I just smelled it. It had a really much more presence of scent.
Okay. John is saying there is much more presence of scent in B, 6B, because he feels it's more organic. 2 votes for that 6B is the organic. Pastor Pete is not in agreement on that one yet.
6A is organic.
Okay, we're split. We have a half of the house thinking 6A is organic and half is thinking 6B. Okay, I'll read you the ingredients.
I'm gonna go with B for organic because vanilla is stronger in A.
Oh, my husband's learned something after all these years of living together. His comment was that 6A smells stronger of vanilla, which would be less organic and more of an additive. Did I say it the way you were
did,
saying?
but vanilla could still be organic.
Yes, it could be, unless
It's
it's vanillin with an N on the end, then it's fake vanilla.
I would guess 6B is organic, but it's smaller.
Oh, Pastor Pete thinks B is organic because it's smaller.
Yeah, I would go with that.
Oh, now we've got all kinds of shifting going on.
Conspiracy going on.
Actually, both of these brands are fairly good. The first one was Ghirardelli white chips. So that's not an inexpensive sample. The second one is now carried by Kroger, and it's a Lily brand. This is out of Boulder, Colorado. As soon as I say Boulder, Colorado, you ought to know something. This is the organic. Yes, yes. It's kind of nice that it's carried now. We've been familiar with this brand because our kids live in Colorado. In the organic one, it's the first ingredient is cocoa butter, and then we go to sunflower, natural flavor salt, and a stevia. When you go to the Ghirardelli ingredients, did they forget to put them on there? Sugar, #1 ingredient. Palm kernel oil, whole milk powder, non-fat dry powder, palm oil, soy lecithin, vanilla extract. So it's still better brand of white chocolate than some, but it's not as organic as Lily. So it's a new brand to watch for in the market. They make a really nice semi-sweet chocolate, I guess a milk chocolate and a dark chocolate too. You have done well with this tasting test. I hope you at home you've done as well. So you have another dessert, and that is a white cake, and it is layered with a white chocolate Swiss meringue. And it's better when it's room temperature and soft. So it depends on how long your dessert has been unrefrigerated. You may want to hold on that for a while. It should be soft. It shouldn't be hard. All right, so while we are eating that, we have another guitar solo, Choro by Villalobos. And I don't think I have anything more to add on that one. That's yours? Or, this is the... Oh, Miles, you're doing that one. Okay, good. Okay, thank you, Miles. We're just about at the end of our program. The chocolate has been devoured. The wine is almost devoured in this room. I don't know how you're doing at home, but we thank our tasters for being in-house today. We'll do this again on Sunday, March 14th at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And our musician will be Scott Zapota from Cleveland. And we are going to be doing Irish hymn tunes and a few other Irish gigs thrown in, and some Irish bad jokes and stories, and some piano pieces. So the meal to go will be corned beef, dinner, carrots, cabbage, red potatoes, and a creme de menthe dessert bar. So you're welcome to reserve to eat in-house if you would like to. We probably can accommodate more people by March once vaccines are getting out there a little bit more, or you can pick it up after church and take it home. We hope you enjoyed this time, because we certainly have loved hearing you guys play. Thanks to these students for giving up a Sunday afternoon and coming to entertain us on Valentine's Day. So they're going to close with a final number. Okay. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone at home, and thank you for spending your Sunday afternoon with us. Hope you enjoyed it.